So within the past month, there has been a lot of bad news coming to Naughty Dog. The Last of Us Season 2 has been delayed, the new multiplayer has been delayed, and so on. However, Naughty Dog did announce a new quote-unquote single-player experience that is coming out, and in this video, I want to talk about this and see if this is part 3 or a new IP given all the leaks, information, and more. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So after there was a delay to the new multiplayer, Naughty Dog did release a statement saying that there is a new quote-unquote single-player experience on our way. Now I did find it interesting how they did not name it part 3 or another title, and we will circle back on this. However, there was information floating around prior to this announcement. Before, there was a leak going around that part 3 was in the works and was being developed for both the PS5 and the PS6. To corroborate that information, Neil Druckmann had said a few years ago on part 2's release that there is an outline for part 3 and he hopes to make it. He also said that he would like to include aspects from the HBO show within the game, and also that there were more stories to tell within the Last of Us universe. Also, to add on that, part 2's ending was pretty open-ended and it kind of needed a concrete conclusion for Ellie's character. And we also need to know the question if Abby found the Fireflies and what happened to them, although we did kind of get some sort of conclusion with that through the menu screen. Overall, there just seemed to be another installment looking forward into this franchise. However, Neil Druckmann did start to change his story, stating that if there isn't a quote-unquote proper story to tell, then otherwise we'll just leave it at part 2. Also, Neil Druckmann did say that they had made a decision whether or not to develop part 3 or another IP, and we'll just have to wait and see. Neil Druckmann also poked fun at these leaks, saying to quote-unquote not believe any leaks you see. So this throws a wrench in all of this. However, I do want to point out a few key pieces of information. Number one being that I don't really believe leakers except for Tom Henderson. His reputation is amazing, and more than enough he reports on things that he can double down on. And if you're in the COD scene, you know how reputable he is, and everything he said most likely is coming out. Now with all that being said, he did not confirm part 3 ever in development or coming out in any capacity. This narrative was reported by a different leaker. Oh, okay, then why then should we believe Tom in the Last of Us community? Well, he was the first person to report on the Last of Us Part 1 remake along the release window and got it right. He even reported on the existence of the Part 2 director's cut, which was corroborated with a lot of gaming insiders. So Tom has a good track record with the Last of Us IPs and leaking a lot of Naughty Dog's projects. He even states in this tweet that he has no idea if they are making a part 3, but since the show was met with overwhelming success, it might put pressure on them to make this game. So if we really look at this, and at least from my perspective, there aren't any reputable leakers that are saying this game is being developed. And since they are still developing the multiplayer game, to me it does not make sense to release 2 of the same IPs back to back, and it makes sense to just spread them out more, and this is just mainly due to fatigue. I also want to point out that they did confirm that part 2 is being developed in 2016, and it has been 3 years since part 2's release, and there hasn't been any confirmation at all of a part 3. And to put this into perspective, part 1 came out in 2013, so this was just confirmed 3 years after its release. I also know Neil had claimed to announce projects that are closer to the finish date, which makes sense, but still there was no CGI trailer or confirmation, which makes me raise an eyebrow to if we will ever see this game. Overall, this is all the information that I personally can gather. Now, taking into consideration that information, this leads to the question, is this a new IP or part 3? Honestly, with all the information we are given, it only makes sense that this new game that they are developing is a new IP. Now, personally, I do think part 3 is going to come out eventually, but from the sounds of it, it's not anytime soon. From the way Neil Druckmann dodged these questions and from everything we as the audience were hearing from behind the scenes, it just sounds like the direction that they are headed is just a brand new game. I just find it so strange that part 2 has so many questions that I feel like need to be answered, and I guess Naughty Dog does not want to answer them, but to be honest, it just comes down to the way that they worded things in their statement and claiming it's a quote-unquote new single-player experience, and this was sort of the confirmation that I needed. Now, to repeat, I think we are getting part 3, but I don't think anytime soon. Possibly, if I had to put my money on it, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, I would say early 2030 or late 2028. For the community, we just had the multiplayer being delayed, so that has to come out first, and that's probably not going to come out within the next like 2 to 3 years if we're being optimistic. So honestly, I just think this is another L for the Last of Us community. Now, for me, I'm just just a little confused because it has been 3 years since we got in a game from Naughty Dog, and it just doesn't seem like there's anything new from The Last of Us on the horizon. And I completely understand a project takes time, but I'm talking about in terms of announcement and drumming up hype. Honestly, it has been radio silence since we got the news about the multiplayer being delayed, and from the sound of things, at least my expectations, it just seems like they have no plan on releasing another Last of Us game or any sort of IP anytime soon. Heck, Part 2 was announced 4 years before it was released, and now as fans we are in the dark completely. And to also just continue my rant really quickly, there isn't even a native PS5 like game for Part 2, but there's an entire remake for Part 1. Like, I'm genuinely confused. And as a PC player, there isn't even talks of porting Part 2 to the PC so that there can be even a more profit for Sony. But if we're going to look on the positive side on a lot of these things that Naughty Dog has their focus on, maybe this new IP gives them a lot of creative freedom, and maybe they're going to give us a game that, not that we really wanted, but maybe a game that, you know, we as the fans needed. Overall, this is all the information that I have found, but I would like to know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment below. This has been your boy Beast, and I'll see you guys in the next video.